tell us a little bit about your origin story, man, before we tell everybody how you and I met.
Sure.
What was life like for you growing up? And what did that, what maybe to add on to, what were the lessons you took away from that?
Okay. Well, I mean, I started off in metropolitan Detroit, just outside Detroit. That's where I grew up most of my life. Still have lifelong friends there. My oldest friend is of 30 years is still there. We met, he was down the street from me. And like most people, it was a pretty typical middle-class upbringing. Both my parents worked. My mother was a banker, also a businesswoman, which helped fuel some of the stuff in the future, but I didn't realize that at the time. But she was massively involved in nonprofit organizations, starting those up and getting those running. She was doing speech writing for politicians with her communications expertise, and then also in banking, she got herself up to, if I remember correctly, I don't want to do her injustice, but she was VP of marketing or communications, one of those two in there. And so there was that. And then my father was very much a techie guy, very, very anti what I am as I try to figure out how to use a headset and such. But my father was very techie. He was also a police officer in Detroit, just outside Detroit, nice rough area. And so there, growing up, my mother was so good with people and creating relationships. I mean, we were in the Middle East and she ran into somebody that she knew from an event 10 plus years ago. So
that's crazy.
It was very apparent that she's really, really good with people. And that's where I think I've definitely gotten that from. But then my father, being the police officer that he was, and analytical and techie and just more street smart, that's where I got kind of how to navigate that world and how to keep your head on your shoulders, not go to jail, not do those dumb things, and just how to read people and talk to people directly. And so, but because of, well, I'm just wild in general. So I'm naturally curious. I was, I utilize relationships and networking in school instead of the A's and B's and C's and doing the actual work. But I was getting relationships with administration assistants and security and parking lot attendants, teachers, where they were taking me out to lunch. For 4 or 5 years, I was signing myself out of school just to go have lunch down the street because my elementary school was literally a block away from my house, and me and my friend and he lived even closer. So he and I would sign ourselves out, go home at lunchtime, watch The Price is Right, and eat some Velveeta. And so it took 3-4 years before people caught us. Hey, do your parents really let you come home every day? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. I was signing myself out, just smiling at people, and it seemed to work. And then as I got into high school, I met administration assistants and teachers that were really cool. And all of a sudden I'm going out to lunch with these people. I was like, I don't want to go be in this class anymore. They would change me out of that class and put me in a new class. And so, wow, man, knowing people is really, really good.
That's awesome.
Then I got to college, and that shit went right out the window, and nobody really cares in college. And so I was sitting there working at CC's Pizza and Best Buy and going to community college for a couple of weeks. And I was like, you know what, man? This is not for me. And I had a friend of mine, lifelong friend. She had been going back and forth vacationing most of her life to the Virgin Islands. And I had just gotten out of high school. She came back she said she moved down there. She came back and she had a wad of cash about this thick in her hand. I was like, whoa, what are you doing? She said, I'm bartending in the Virgin Islands. I said, well, I don't even know where that is, but I'm coming, because this sucks. So I dropped out of college and quit the job, and I had about barely enough to even get a ticket. My parents even helped me get the ticket. So I bought a plane ticket down there. I think I had maybe $700 to my name. And my friend and I we were going to go together. We were doing all kind of research. And then I said, screw it, I'm going. And I went. And I got there first day. I'm sitting in the bar in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, about 2,000, 3,000 plus miles away from I've ever known. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you, boy? Are you crazy? But it was I can't believe I did it, but I'm amazed that I'm happy that I did it. I'm glad I did. I learned way too much down there, learned how to survive.
It's crazy, man, because like some people might criticize you for, you know, making a decision like that. Like it, right. Like it kind of seems like when you explain it, and I actually haven't heard this part of your story before, but like when you explain it like that, it's almost like, oh man, what a rash decision. What a stupid decision. What a da da da. But it's also interesting. And I want to hear the other part of the story and everything you went through. And we got to tell the Cheerios story, man. I gotta tell that. But like, what's funny is my dad used to always have this saying. He would say yes unless you have a really, really compelling reason to say no. You know, like one of your values or it goes against your character or something like that. He would say yes. And so like you wouldn't be here today probably if it hadn't been for you saying yes to that Virgin Islands thing. So even if
it's 100%. It's 100% the reason, because I don't have my kid, I don't have my wife, I don't have my godson, I don't have the friendships I have. I can go anywhere in this country because of that little island and the people I've met there, and I'm connected throughout the entire map.
Yeah,
it's cool. I don't regret a single second of it. And some people's paths are do the college thing, and I don't discount that. It just wasn't for me. I knew that very early on. I wasn't interested in learning anything unless I absolutely wanted to learn it.